all the gifts of nature which can satisfy our needs, provided they are technologically accessible, economically feasible and culturally acceptable, can be termed as a resource. All the things available in nature cannot be termed as a resource. A thing becomes a resource when human beings identify and transform it into a usable form. Next, coming to the classification of resources. Resources can be classified into the following types. Firstly, biotic and abiotic. Second, based on exhaustibility, that is into renewable and non-renewable resources. Third, based on ownership into individual, community, national and international resource. And fourthly, based on the status of development into potential, developed stock and reserves. Now, coming to the types of resources in detail. On the basis of origin, as mentioned before, comes the biotic resources. All the resources in the biosphere having life are termed as biotic resources. Example, human beings, plants, animals, etc. Next is abiotic resources. All the resources in nature which do not have life are termed as abiotic resources. Example, soil, water, air, etc. Next comes on the basis of exhaustibility. First is renewable resources. They are those resources which get replenished naturally by natural processes at a rate comparable or faster than its rate of consumption by humans and are termed as renewable resources. Examples include air, water, solar energy, timber and biomass. They may become non-renewable resources if they are used faster than nature can replace them. Next is the non-renewable resources. All those resources which cannot be produced, regrown, regenerated or reused on a scale which can match its consumption rate are termed as non-renewable resources. These resources are often present in nature in a fixed amount or are depleted much faster than nature can recreate them. Examples are fossil fuels such as petrol, diesel, coal, etc. Now, the next classification is on the basis of ownership. Under this, first comes individual resources, which are the resources that are privately owned by an individual and are termed as individual resources. Examples are house, car, etc. Next is the community owned resources. All those resources which are owned by a group of people or the members of a community are termed as community based resources. For example, park, burial grounds, etc. Next comes the national resources. The resources which belong to a nation or to the government is called as national resources. For example, forest, mountains, wildlife reserves, etc. Next is the international resources. These are the resources which are under the control of international organizations. For example, open oceans and resources in the Antarctic, etc. Next is the classification on the basis of status of development. Under this comes potential resources. Potential resources are those resources which exist in a particular place or region and can be exploited in the future. For example, petroleum may exist in many parts of India having sedimentary rocks, but till the time it is actually drilled out and put into use, it remains a potential resource. Next comes developed resources. The resources that have been surveyed, their quantity and quality determined and are being used at present times are termed as developed resources. For example, the petroleum and natural gas which is being obtained from the Bombay high fields. The development of an actual resource depends upon the technology available and involved. Next is stock. The resources that have been identified but not used due to lack of technology is called stock. And then comes reserve. The part of the stock which can be developed profitably with the available technology is called as a reserve.